Hi guys, welcome to this week's episode of our Facts First podcast. I'm your host, Christian Esguera. Okay, so still we are in the middle of a pandemic, but the discussions are of course veering toward the 2022 elections. Malapit na yung election pag inisip nyo pa rin, especially in the Philippine context na maaga naghahanda yung mga nagpaplanong tumakbo sa susunod na election. Okay? So for this episode, pag-uusapan natin yung isang ticket that actually already made an announcement that they would join the 2022 presidential election. So I'm talking about Senator Panfilo Lacson, who said he would run for president, and his vice presidential candidate is Senate President Vicente Sotto III. Okay, so this particular ticket is being packaged as an alternative, a third force if you will. So for this episode, makakausap natin ang isa sa mga taga-suporta or kaalyado nitong Lacson-Sotto ticket. I'd like to welcome on our Facts First podcast, former Comelec Commissioner, Attorney Gregorio Larrazabal. Maraming salamat po, Attorney Goyo, for joining us.
Christian, maraming salamat for inviting me. Hope it will be a fun discussion today.
Okay, marami tayong pag-uusapan lalo't ang dami-daming development sa political scene lately. Unang-una, gusto ko manang liwanagin. Ano yung magiging capacity nyo dito sa Lacson-Sotto campaign? What will be your capacity?
Well, I've been asked to help the campaign, and they also asked me to be more involved by speaking for the tandem, but wala pang formal announcement yan. I leave it to them to make the formal announcement about that.
Okay, so pero kumbaga isa kayo ang kino-consider na maging spokesman ng kampanya.
Yes po, tama po yan.
Okay, so ganun na lang muna yung maging natin discussion.
Kasi I defer to them muna to make the announcement kasi mahirap na ayaw ko sila paunahan.
Sige. Parang presumptive spokesman of the campaign. Total, yung kampanya hindi pa naman official nagsisimula.
Hindi pa naman So,
at wala pa talagang kampanya. Pero tutuloy ba talaga si Senator Lacson for president?
Tuloy na tuloy yan. In fact, he made statements repeatedly about na tuloy talaga siya na tatakbo for president in 2022.
Walang atrasan to?
Wala.
Sige, pag-usapan muna natin si Senator Lacson. Ano yung pinagkaiba nung pagtakbo niya ngayon sa 2022 kumpara dun sa pagtakbo niya in 2004? Let's talk about the timing. Kumbaga, does he think that that he has better chances in 2022?
I think I share the belief that he is the right candidate to run in 2022 kasi at this point in time we need a leader who is capable, who knows his policy, he knows what to do. Kasi everybody can run, but important is what do you do if you win? And Senator Lacson is preparing for that. Na kung maswerte, manalo, he'll hit the ground running and fix things that hopefully will make things better for the Filipinos.
Kailan niya unang naisip na tumakbo uli sa pagkapangulo? Because I remember the 2004 campaign. That was a very bitter election campaign. Diba? Ang nanalo doon si President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Pero I remember may sinabi si Senator Panfilo Lacson noon after nung Hilo Garcia controversy, sabi niya, ang hirap naman ng sitwasyon namin pala. Ang dami-daming naghihirap during the campaign. Yung pala, luto na. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. Kumbaga, rigged pala yung elections after the Hilo Garcia scandal came out. So ngayon, 2022, does he think na mas magiging hindi ganun kahirap or mas madali yung magiging pagtakbo niya?
Well, I think the circumstances nag-iba na compared to before. The situation on the ground is different. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and I believe it's going to be different in 2022.
Okay. So, kailan niya inisip na tumakbo ulit sa pagkapangulo? Was he preparing for this since 2016, for instance?
Hindi ko masagot yan kasi nag-usap lang kami recently, and sinabi niya na he's gunning for the presidency in 2022. But as to when he made the decision, I can't say exactly when. I I think it's best na siya magsabi na kailan niya isip yun.
Oh. Pero kailan ba nabuo? Tsaka paano nabuo tong Lacson-Sotto tandem? For context, talaga matagal na naman magkaibigan yung dalawa, no?
Oh,
So,
they're all friends eh.
if I'm not mistaken, they were part of the so-called macho bloc within the Senate. Diba? Meron tinatawag na macho bloc dun eh. Headed by Senator Tito Sotto. Pero itong tandem, paano nabuo? And to actually gun for the presidency?
My understanding is that nag-usap-usap sila and about the 2022 elections, and they came to an understanding that they can do something for the country to make things better. Kasi they always talk, di ba? Kasi magkaibigan yan. Even other senators, magkaibigan yan. And they discussed it among themselves already. And after some talk and some what's the word I'm looking for?
Negotiation ba yan?
Not the negotiation. Parang nag-usap sila on the viability and feasibility of running, and yun, they decided na tatakbo na sila.
Okay. Si Senator Sotto talagang tuloy-tuloy siya sa vice presidential run.
Yes. And Senator Lacson said na walang iwanan yung dalawa. If he'll run for president, ang vice niya si Senate President Sotto, and Senate President Sotto said kung tatakbo siya vice president, ang presidente niya si Senator Lacson.
Okay. But can Senator Sotto beat President Duterte if indeed President Duterte runs for vice president? Kasi medyo naiiba yung equation lately dahil nagkaroon ng announcement si President Duterte na tatakbo siya sa pagka-vice presidente.
Well, based on the public statements of Senate President Sotto, sabi naman niya na they'll focus on their own campaign, focus on their own strengths for the elections. Kasi until November 15, hindi mo talaga sigurado sinong tatakbo, di ba? Because pwede man mag-file ka from October 1 to 8, pero pagkatapos i-substitute ka ng iba. Diba? So, nothing is final until November 15.
Oh. Pero nga, sakali, i-assume natin na talagang tatakbo si President Duterte. Ano yung lamang ni Senate President Sotto kay President Duterte dun sa particular position na yun, Vice President?
Well, it's not for me to say no kung anong lamang niya, but I think he has a chance of winning as vice president.
Example nito. Kung ako yung botante, ano yung sasabihin niyo sa akin? Namimili pa ako kung sino iboboto ko for vice president. Pero I'm thinking of considering Senator Sotto and President Duterte. What would you tell me if I were the voter? Bakit kailangan mas magandang iboto ko si Senator Sotto?
Well, Senate President Sotto has instituted several laws, and he has a really good program to eradicate the drug problem. It's a holistic approach. It's not only enforcement but also prevention and rehabilitation. I think that's what we lack, and if magagawa yun, we'll be in a better place than we are now.
Okay, pero syempre pag inisip natin yung vice presidency, unless the vice president is given sufficient powers by the sitting president, basically ano yan wala naman talagang kapangyarihan, di ba? So paano niya magagawa yan?
And that's why it's important when you vote for the tandem, kasi mahirap na mananalo yung president. As president si Senator Lacson, but the vice president hindi manalo si Senate President Sotto. Conversely, mahirap naman manalo si Senate President Sotto, like iba yung presidente. So hindi magka-sync yung programs nila. So that's why I suggest that if you vote for president and vice president, vote for a tandem para at least alam mo before makaupo sila, magkasundot na sila, di ba?
Hindi mangyayari yung yung Cory Doyle Laurel, hindi mangyayari yung Duterte at saka Leni Robredo, o kaya si Ramos binigyan ng position si Erap Estrada, di ba?
Yeah,
Anti-Crime Commission.
Si President Estrada naman gave
Gloria Arroyo.
she gave the DSWD next. Si President Ramos gave then Vice President Estrada the opportunity to be part of the government. So that's what's important. No, the president and vice president works together.
Okay. Pero ito, in the first place, si President Duterte, pinapayagan ba siya ng konstitusyon na tumakbo sa pagka-vice presidente pagkatapos ng term niya?
Okay. There are opposing views. I don't want to preempt Comelec kasi alam ko pag file pa lang ng COC ni President Duterte for VP, there is a big chance somebody will file a petition to cancel the COC. What I say is dapat ma-resolve kaagad yan ng Comelec at saka Supreme Court para wala ng question before election day.
Pero yung ano yun, you're a former Comelec Commissioner.
Yes.
No? So you're not talking about this in any official capacity. Your personal opinion, your legal opinion as a lawyer, is he allowed by the Constitution or not?
Well, again, if you look at it, what's prohibited is re-election for president, not a prohibition to run for any other public office. The difference is that unlike PGMA and President Estrada, this one is for the vice presidency. And if something happens to the president, the vice president assumes as president. So that's the issue there. Na you will be going around the prohibition of the Constitution for a person to serve as president twice or more than 6 years. Yeah, twice. Kasi in some cases, like for example, PGMA, she served an unexpired portion of the term of Estrada, but it's still allowed. She was able to run in 2004, di ba?
Pero dito ang pinag-uusapan, di ba may ban tayo, di ba? 6-year term,
Yes.
maliwanag sa Constitution. Pero kung manalo sa pagkapangulo sa pagka-vice presidente si Duterte at may nangyari dun sa nakuupong presidente, siya yung magiging successor, di ba?
Yes.
So, pwede siyang mag-serve as president for more than 6 years despite the ban, but not through election, but through succession.
Yes. Mike, that's why it's hard to, kasi if I say something now, both sides will react. So I hope you don't mind that. I'll be on the safe side here. Akin lang is as soon as a COC is filed, that has to be resolved by Comelec ASAP. And I'm sure, based on pronouncements made by some individuals, they will file a petition to question it.
Ayun. O sige. Kasi dalawa yung ano dyan yung school of thought yan, di ba?
Yeah.
Nakausap natin recently si Attorney Christian Munso, the member of the 1986 Constitutional Commission. Ito yung lupon, yung commission na nag-craft.
Yes.
Nag-draft ng 1987 Constitution. So sabi niya, kasi ang argument ng iba naman, well, the president is not prohibited from running for vice president because the letter of the provision does not prohibit him. Wala raw sinasabi na bawal. Ang argument naman ni Attorney Monsod, you have to look at the entirety of the Constitution na talagang pinagbabawal yung 6-year, yung mag-extend beyond 6 years. Ang tanong ko naman, bakit hindi na lang kasi isinulat ng mas maliwanag doon sa na yon?
Everybody has 2020 vision in hindsight now, but at the end of the day, whether it's allowed or not, that will have to be resolved with finality by the Comelec and the Supreme Court. Kasi even if I say na pwede, somebody will file a petition to say na question it, but hindi. So it has to be resolved as soon as possible, and I hope Comelec does this.
Sige. Pero ito, pag-usapan na natin magiging epekto ng pronouncement ni President Duterte at kung tumakbo nga siya sa pagka-vice presidente. Paano ito makaka-apekto doon sa chances ni Senator Sotto for vice president? Kasi syempre may impact rin sa landscape ng kampanya.
Before we even talk about how it will impact, let's talk about we should talk about how will people campaign in 2022. In the middle of a pandemic, hindi na pwede yung ikot ng ikot, na malaking entourage, hindi, and considering the age of the president, I don't think he's healthy enough to do a campaign like he did in 2016, di ba?
Hmm.
So I think I think Senate President Soto has a chance to win. Importante is anong campaign strategy to make you win in the May 9, 2022 elections. The campaign strategy will definitely play a very big role in determining whether if you lose or not, or whether you win or not.
But can Senator Soto beat President Duterte for vice president?
There's a chance he can beat President Duterte for vice presidency in 2022. There's a chance. I'm telling you, there's a chance.
Saan nanggagaling tong optimism na to?
Well, kasi if you look at it now, nothing is that there's no big. If you look at the latest numbers now, hindi naman malaki yung agwat ng mga candidates for president and vice president. So, and some will even tell me that, the numbers now it's not going to hold. That's going to change because people are not really seriously looking at the candidates now for 2022 because ang focus nila na it's the pandemic, di ba? So people will start to look at those candidates and who to vote for seriously in January or February pa. So it's too early to say, but I believe Senate President Soto has a chance to win.
Okay. Pag-usapan naman natin yung decision mismo na tumakbo. Do you think sa mga nangyayari ngayon, advisable mo ba for President Duterte to run for Vice President after serving for 6 years?
Well, the statement kasi of the President repeatedly is that he's tired already and he even wants to end his term kung pwede, di ba? He can't wait to leave. So I don't get why biglang he wants to run for Vice President. Say he's not young, di ba? And running a campaign is going to take its toll on his health. So I hope they consider that because he's old, 70 plus na, di ba?
Pero anong basa niya rito sa nangyayari? Kasi nga, kailangan maging prangka rito din tayo sa discussion dito.
Yeah.
For example, may mga comparisons sa already dun sa binabalak ng mga Duterte, doon sa ginawa ni Vladimir Putin sa Russia. Yung para bang perpetuation in power, gustong manatili. But of course, dahil pinagbabawal ng konstitusyon yung mag-extend ka ng term mo as president, dadaan siya sa vice presidency. I mean, kayo, anong basa nyo rito? Is this about President Duterte really wanting to stay in power?
Well, you won't want to run for office if you don't want to stay in power. That's pretty obvious, diba? So
Definitely.
Why will he want to run for vice president? I don't know. Parang he's already done a lot in the past 5 years, and he's already repeatedly said na ayaw niya na, gusto niya magpahinga. So why the change of heart? Dapat tanungin ng tao yan. And dapat masagot yan. The difference is that I don't think you'll amend the constitution just to allow a president to run for re-elections after 2022. I don't think the general public will not allow that.
At saka wala ng oras, no?
Wala now. Well, definitely wala ng oras now to amend the constitution. My God, it's already August.
Tsaka masyadong obvious.
Yeah, in less than 5 days. Illegal POC. So wala na yun. Forget about that. Wala na yun.
Yung pagtakbo ni President Duterte sa pagka-vice presidente, mas makakabuti ba to o mas makakasama sa bansa?
Depende sinong kausap mo.
Kayo, anong opinion nyo?
More than the vice presidency, I think importante who will be the president in 2022. Kasi you can, for example somebody wins for president and vice president, President Duterte wins for vice president. If then Vice President Duterte is given a big role in the government, then he'll have an impact. But if he's marginalized, then his impact will be lessened, di ba?
Oh,
I
kalaban niya yung
think
manalo.
kalaban niya manalo. So he'll you'll have you'll have the same situation as probably what we have now, di ba? Na Vice President Robredo is not given important role in this government.
De, pero yung singular decision coming from President Duterte, miski ilayo mo muna natin sa ibang factors, yun nga, yung decision niya na tumakbo for Vice President, is this good or bad for the country or even for our democracy?
More than that, I'm concerned about his health because he's not that young, and you've seen videos of him medyo almost falling. So I'm not so sure how the campaign will impact his health, and it gets to be very rigorous and very tiring and takes a toll on your body. So more than him running, it's actually how that will affect his health.
Okay.
In democracy naman, um, there are many people who are qualified. I think let's the more people who file, the better. Kasi you'll have more choices na. You don't limit yourself to just one or two people. And this refers to all elected positions. The more people who run for an elected position, the better it is because the more choices people have.
Sige. Pag-usapan naman natin yung ticket. Senator Lacson at saka si Senator Tito Sotto. Tama bang sabihin that they are presenting themselves as an alternative to the administration candidate, whoever that may be, and to the opposition candidate? Or tama bang perspective sa kanila, they are already part of the opposition? Ano yung tamang definition sa kanila?
I think
characterization.
They're in the middle. Kung may okay na ginawa yung administration, they commend it. But kung may mali, sinasita naman nila. So they're more toward in the center, not really extreme opposition or extreme administration. They are right there in the middle.
Hindi ba ito parang reflection din ng a politician playing safe?
No, not naman, because there are times na both of them, Senate President Sotto and Senator Lacson, have called out the administration, especially during the pandemic na may sinisita sila na may mamali. It's not playing safe. It's just focusing on looking at what's right. Then if something's right, you commend it. If may mali, you call it out para at least mabago naman.
Sige. Ano yung sagot nyo rito sa sa characterization dun sa dalawa? Na for the longest time, naging enabler sila ni President Duterte. Pero ngayong malapit na election at meron silang sariling ambisyon, dumidistansya na sila. And they're presenting themselves as alternatives.
Hindi naman, kasi ang problema ngayon in the Philippines is you belong to extremes of both ends. If you're not, you're labeled as sleeping with the enemy, diba? For example, if you're on the side of administration, if you just say something na medyo critical, biglang atakihin ka na kasi enemy of the state ka. And if you're an opposition, if you say something medyo maganda about the administration, biglang, uy, DDS ka. So I think that's wrong. I think we should go more towards the center, be more issue-based rather than personality-based.
Okay. Pero tama rin bang sabihin na nakinabang yung dalawa? They also benefited from Duterte?
Well, what sense nakinabang?
For example, in terms of the president's, by supporting the president, hindi sila na-atake at the very least, di ba? So, number two, for instance, yung closest nila sa Pangulo, basically, siguro may mga naitulong when it comes to their own popularity within the support base of the president. Things like that. Tama bang sabihin na may ganun? Or this was a kind of support that they had to do because they were occupying important positions in the Senate?
No, like for example, tama ka, like Senate President Sotto is the Senate President. So, bills pass through him as Senate President. So, he has to sift through it. And if he sees some bill na magandang hangarin, then he he facilitates the passage of it. In fact, Bayanihan 1 was his idea, and he informed the executive department about it, and that's why they pushed for Bayanihan 1. Um, they're in a position kasi na you can't be totally you can't totally shut out everybody, di ba? Because in a government, you have to work together to make things better. Again, no, like I mentioned, kung may mali, call it out. Kung may tama, you commend it. There are many things na baka ginawa nila na behind the scenes na hindi natin alam na ginawa nila. But just because we don't know about it, doesn't necessarily mean hindi nila ginawa. Di ba?
Sige. Ito na lang. Yung isa sa mga actually, this is the most controversial policy that the president has been doing since 2016 in drug war. Libo-libo yung namatay. Based on official government figures, at least 6,000. Pag tinanong natin yung mga human rights groups, definitely mas marami pa. So, sinuportahan to ni Senator Sotto and Senator Lacson. So, how would they defend their support of this kind of drug war during the campaign?
Well, Senate President Soto has made pronouncements as to the drug war. In fact, he said that it's lacking. Dapat holistic yung approach. It can and should be done better. Dapat mas kagandahan yung approach to solve that problem. And not only looking at it from the point of view of enforcement, but also from the point of view of supply and rehabilitation and prevention. Maganda yung program niya eh. So hopefully, manalo si Senator Lacson, they can implement that program to minimize the drug problem now.
Pero ano ba? For the record, did they support the drug war in its entirety? Or they also found certain problems with the way it was conceived and implemented?
Okay, based on what I know, because I don't want to speak for them eh. Kasi
not yet. Sige.
Not yet. But sa akin is like they raised some points regarding the drug war and made suggestions on how it can be done better. Hopefully, if those programs will be implemented, it will be a better approach.
Pero bakit hindi sila mas nagsalita kung may nakita silang hindi tama?
Yun, hindi ko masagot yan because there might be things that they might say privately but not publicly. So,
at least in public. Kasi ano naman, di ba? Nothing stopped them from speaking out in public. Bakit hindi sila mas nagsalita?
Yun,
publicly.
I would suggest dapat sila talaga magsabi diyan because I don't want to preempt whatever they say. Sorry medyo mahirap to preempt.
Fair enough, oo. Yun. So, pero hindi kaya ano rin, tama bang sabihin na, kasi they also played it safe when it came to the drug war?
I don't think so. Like I mentioned, there have been things that they pointed out that can be done better. But on the particulars, I guess it would be best na sila magsabi talaga because I don't want to speak for them or I don't want to say something about the matter which I might not know all the details about.
Okay. So, paano pala yung magiging support base nitong Lacson at saka Sotto campaign or ticket? Si Senator Lacson, umanib siya rin sa reforma, di ba?
Yes.
The former ni Renato de Villa. So, basically, this was revived. Bakit dun siya pumunta sa reforma?
I think it fits with the ideals of the Reforma Party. And they're like-minded people, so they talk and they're supporting Senator Lacson.
How about the Nationalist People's Coalition? So kayo ang 'di ba, ang legal counsel na NPC. Does it mean na dahil na-forge yung Lacson-Sotto tandem at si Senator Sotto is part of NPC, no? Does it mean na yung NPC is now on board totally dito sa Lacson-Sotto ticket?
Well, the spokesperson of the party, Congressman Enverga, I believe made a statement last week or the other week saying that after the deadline of the filing, the party will meet all the presidential candidates and will listen to their platform or government and their plans, then make a decision after. So we'll have to wait for that.
So namimili pa yung NPC ng susuportahan sa pagkapangulo?
Based on the statement of NPC, it appears that way. And I think Senate President Soto and Senator Lacson commented about that and about that statement.
Hindi ba weird na na si Senator Soto yung kasama na NPC and then he already threw his support behind Senator Lacson, pero yung partido niya namimili pa kung sino susuportahan sa pagkapangulo?
Well, that's a decision of NPC. So that's a statement made by NPC. So let's see what will happen lang.
Okay. Pero posible rin ba na hindi mag-party stand dito when it comes to the presidential election? Pwedeng bayaan yung mga individual members of the party to throw their support sa iba't ibang kandidato sa pagkapangulo?
That one, it will have to depend on the discussion of the party members. Kasi they will meet, they will then decide after.
Okay. Ngayon, pag-usapan natin, Attorney Goyo, yung in-announce na possible initial senatorial slate nitong Lacson-Sotto ticket. Binabasa ko yung listahan eh.
No, wait, by the way, let me say that the statement made by Congressman Enverga, they'll have to talk with the presidential candidates after the filing, and let's see what will happen after.
Okay. O sige, merong initial 10 names mentioned.
Okay.
The initial lineup. Actually, sinama kayo dito, no? So, ang tanong, tatakbo ba kayo sa pagka-senador?
I'm seriously looking at it, but as I mentioned to people, it's, something might happen before the filing, which might prevent me from running in the Senate. But I'm seriously considering and looking at it. I was asked already, to put it in context, no? Tinanong na ako before, invite na ako before to run for the Senate in 2013, 2016, and 2019. I politely declined. So now I'm seriously looking at it. But it's not, until and unless, in the world of politics kasi, until and unless you file, nothing is 100% guaranteed.
Oo nga. Tapos hanggat hindi natatapos yung deadline ng substitution.
That's it. November 15. Yung nag-file before, pwede ma-substitute pa ng iba.
Pero dito, obviously, you're preparing the groundwork for a possible senatorial run. Diba? You're all over the place.
Yeah, but I mean, say, you have to, if you're seriously looking at it, you have to prepare. You have to get ready. I'd rather prepare than and not possibly run, or then plan to run but not prepare for it. The best way to prepare the best way to win is to prepare for it.
Kumusta ba yung numero nyo? Tsaka what's stopping you from making that decision at this point?
Well, there's a number of factors, but my numbers, I'm still not at the top though. I'm at the bottom. But lately, my numbers have started to improve, and this is the problem. Kasi marami might know me, but they don't see me as a politician. When they see me, pagkita mo sa akin, elections.
Comelec.
Not as a candidate, but as a person who explains about elections, who discusses about electoral reform, but not as a candidate himself. So that's a challenge.
The challenge is to tell people na you can also be a viable senatorial candidate.
Yes. Or a candidate. Just a candidate, diba? But let's see. Mahaba pa. It's like there's more than 40 days left. So many things can happen in 40 days.
Definitely. Pero unang-una, aren't you discouraged with the fate of previous or other fellow election lawyers like yourself who tried to run for the Senate and they lost, diba? Most recently, si Attorney Romy Macalintal noong 2019 elections. tumakbo rin siya, and he was also confident na, I remember nung nakakausap ko siya ng time na yun, sabi niya, maraming supportang na-pledge sa kanya, lalo ng mga dati niyang kliyente, across the country. But of course, the reality was, apparently, that support was not enough because he
Yeah.
lost.
Kanya-kanyang strategy yan. That was his game plan, and unfortunately, it did not work. I have some ideas about how to go about things, and let's see. It's a continuous re-evaluation of what needs to be done. Anong dapat gawin? But it's hard kasi in the middle of a pandemic, hirap lumabas, di ba? Hirap lumabas now.
Mas gagastos kayo sa online campaign. Tsaka television ads pa rin, di ba?
So, well, gagastos ka sa online campaign, pero at saka sa TV ads, but it's not going to be the normal or the usual because the landscape is different now. I'm telling you, I expect there will be a big shift in how people campaign in 2022. Uh, that's my job to help to make people win. No? And I see there are paths that can be taken to ensure victory in 2022. Depende lang sa diskarte at sa strategy you take.
Sige, medyo
Sorry, it's hard to be so detailed about it when you know what worked in 2019 will not probably work again in 2022. Yung campaign strategy sa sortie mo, naisip mo in March might not work in November this year. So kasi of the health protocols in place, the quarantine levels, etc.
Oo. Tsaka matinding game changer talaga yung pandemic. Eh.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm. Pero syempre, may mga inspirations din tayo or kumbaga models that we can follow from other countries that conducted elections during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, the conduct of the elections next year I think will be good. I expect a 60 to 70% turnout. If you have 60 or 65%,
Taas yan.
sobrang okay yan. That's really high already. Di ba there's a survey yata na 35% will vote. But that will change. Hopefully. Sorry, go ahead.
Tsaka nag-exceed yung target ng Comelec dun sa registered voters. So that's good news.
Yeah. Yes, it exceeded the lowered expectations.
So technically nag-exceed pero lowered yung expectations. Anyway, let's talk about the timing. Ito na para maintindihan ng mga tao, no? Kasi masyadong masikip yung senatorial campaign, yung senatorial election in the Philippines because you're vying for 12 slots. Okay? 12 slots. And technically, given the rules of the game that we have now, kahit magkakasama kayo sa isang ticket, technically, magkakalaban kayo.
Oh.
Because all of you are vying for 12 seats. Okay? Now, hindi ba advisable, ito yung conventional wisdom na sinasabi ng mga analysts. Mas maganda kung baguhan ka, hindi ka pa nagiging senador ever, tumakbo ka during the midterm elections, not during the presidential elections. Is that rule still applicable now?
Maganda yung midterm elections kung if you're in the administration ticket.
Okay.
That's it. If you're in an administration ticket in the midterm elections, the chances of you winning is extremely high. Presidential gives you a better opportunity to run because the president is graduating, di ba? And everybody is just focusing on him or herself. So in terms of chances, the presidential race elections is the better time to run.
Bakit? Dahil hindi nakafocus sa mga senador?
Hindi nakafocus sa senator eh. And wala kang administration na didiin sa'yo or didiin against you, di ba? So it's a more level playing field.
Pero hindi mo mas delikado yan. Kasi kung lahat ng tao nakafocus sa presidential election, hindi mo siya napapansin yung other positions. For example, yung senatorial. Hindi mo mas maging independent yung resulta doon sa name recall. And that will be a handicap for people like you.
Depende how you go about it. Uh, Awareness is name recall and awareness is very important, but there's ways around that. Uh,
Like,
but well, you do the groundwork. You do a campaign on social media, and traditional media. That will take some time. It has to be consistent. It's a bit expensive, but it is doable.
Kasi tinitingnan ko yung mga nagpaparamdam na. Obviously, tatakbo naman talaga sila. Gustong bumalik sa Senado, di ba? So 12 seats yung pinaglalabanan. Pag kinonsider natin yung mga returnees, yung mga gustong bumalik, yung mga incumbents, and actually, pag tinignan natin yung pangalan ng mga incumbent senators seeking re-election, ewan ko, ang tingin ko dyan, may mga ilan sa kanila matindi yung talo, di ba?
Yes.
Ang daming mga pangalan na very popular na gustong bumalik at saka gustong manatili. Come to think of it, if I'm not mistaken, I was doing some sort of a computation. Mukhang paglalabanan lang dyan, mga 3 to 4 slots.
I think it's good to be more.
Pero tama, di ba? Pag inisip nyo, like, gusto bumalik nila Lauren Legarda, nila Chis Escudero. Oh.
It's, okay. Before kasi, if you are a re-electionist or returning, laki ng chance mo. Pero recent elections show that may natatalo na re-electionist at saka may natatalo na comebacking. So it's not a guarantee anymore. So it also opens the door for more newbies or neophytes to enter the Senate race.
Anong nagbago ngayon dito sa darating na election?
I think the pandemic, the way people campaign is not like before anymore. Before you can pack a stadium of 5 to 10,000 people easily. You can talk with them, and that's it. Hakot yung mga tao. Talk with them. Explain your platform, etc. Now, my God, if you talk to a group of 100 people, wala na, babash ka na, di ba? So it's going to be different. I agree with you that the name recall will play a very important role, but there are some nuances and some factors that may affect you winning or losing.
Maraming factors na pwede i-consider. Kasi sa akin, experience ko when I was covering the election campaigns, ang laking bentahe pag talagang sikat, tsaka household.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Example, kunwari, ikaw, isa kang kilalang politiko, di ba? Pagpunta mo sa labas, this is one good test sa tingin ko yung popularity. And of course, yung conversion of that popularity or name recall is another issue. Pero for example, ikaw yung kandidato na talagang paglabas mo sa isang lugar, sa public market, talagang pagkakaguluhan ka. Yung hindi hakot crowd, bentahin na agad yun kasi kilala ka nila eh.
Exactly, but
for example, for people like you, I suppose that's not the situation, di ba? Hindi ka artista. Di ba?
Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many people still recognize me. Despite the fact that I retired from Comelec in 2011, they still know me, but they look at me, Comelec. So, okay. So then I explain about the power of their vote, etc. But kasi I've been talking with people, kasi wala akong plan to enter politics before. But what I do is I continually reach out to people to encourage them to register as voters and make them realize the power of their vote. Importante sa akin yun. So it still happens, not as much as before. Pero tama ka, kung sobra kang sikat, yung iba nga, they get into a controversy or scandal, di ba? Biglang, uy, siya yung nakita ko sa scandal, di ba? Or sa controversy.
Picture pa.
Picture, di ba? Even if it's a bad issue, they have their pictures taken. So,
ito example Attorney Goyo. Si Senator Bong Revilla, ang bigat ng controversy na kinasangkutan niya before. I remember when I was covering that campaign. Isa sa mga pinaka-crucial, effective kahit mababaw na strategy na in-employ niya, yung sumayaw siya ng budots.
yes.
Di ba pinagtawanan siya sa social media? Pero pag inisip mo, mukhang nakatulong yun sa sa
Well,
pagpapataas pa ng popularity niya.
that was his strategy and it worked.
Tinayawan
And
lang niya, di ba?
he used the same strategy in 2010.
Mm.
Same strategy. I would say if it works, I guess why should you if it ain't broke, why fix it, diba? So
Oh,
it worked for him. It didn't work for others.
oh.
Um, so that is what got him. That's what helped him win, diba? So kanya-kanyang branding yan eh. Kanya-kanyang diskarte yan. So pagalingan na lang.
Pero sa tingin nyo, yung mga botante ba ngayon mas mulat na? Mas naintindihan na yung importansya na dapat nakatutok din tayo sa issue, na dapat pag pumili ka ng, let's say, kandidato sa pagkapangulo, sa pagkasenador, titingnan din natin kung kaya ba niya. Kasi minsan, ito, again, I'm talking about my experience speaking with regular people during the campaign trail. Sabihin nila, ito bagay na senador to. Titingnan yung tindig. Hindi
Oo.
titingnan yung track record. Sasabihin,
Yes.
ito medyo mukhang okay itong vice president. Pag tinanong mo bakit, wala, yung itsura niya parang ang galing niya magsalita, may dating. Sa tingin niyo ba mas may nagbago na ngayon dun sa crop of voters? I think mas marami ang ngayon, di ba? Youth voters. So can
Mas
we say
maraming
mas mulat ng mga voters ngayon?
mas maraming youth voters now and I think they'll have a bigger impact in the 2022 elections. We hope that people will focus on issues instead of like pagtindig or whatever. Some other superficial factor that like I want to vote for him or her kasi guwapo, guwapa.
Mm.
Parang, di ba? It's not when you're running for office, it's a issue of competency and capability. And problema lang, not many people realize that, or if even if they know that, they don't mind it. So hopefully it will change. With more youth voters now, I see that they're more active, they're more involved, they're more vocal in their views. Hopefully that will translate to um, a bigger turnout in 2022 and a shift in how people view candidates who are running.
Okay. Dito naman sa last part ng discussion natin, Attorney Larrazabal, pag-usapan natin yung chances naman ni Senator Panfilo Lacson. So ngayon, marami na nagpaparamdam doon sa pagtakbo sa pagkapangulo. You have Sara Duterte, you have
Yes.
Bongo na in-announce ng PDP laban na siya yung magiging standard bearer. Si Leni Robredo, the Vice President, naturally, she would be expected to gun for the highest elective office to represent the opposition. Meron tayong Manny Pacquiao, meron ding Isko Moreno. What do you think of the chances of Senator Panfilo Lacson in that pool of candidates?
I think he has a chance to win. Kasi right now,
Pero ang baba na numbers sa survey,
yeah, but the survey numbers naman, if you look at the numbers of President Duterte in 2016, his numbers are really bad before the start of the campaign, diba? So numbers will change. Definitely numbers will change.
But does he
Uh,
have the same charisma of the president at that time? Iba kasi yung charisma ni President Duterte ng time na yun, di ba?
well, each candidate naman has his own traits, diba? Or own personality, diba?
Hmm.
So how do you maximize it? How do you go about it? Like I mentioned earlier, it's the campaign strategy which will determine whether you win or lose. And how do you adjust to the situation on the ground? Yun talaga, if you make a strategy pagkatapos, dead set ka na, like you don't change maski things are not going according to plan, then there's going to be a big problem. But for example, you're not doing as good now, but you pivot and you change your campaign strategy to fine tune it to adjust to the situation, then that could make you win.
Hmm.
Same as with any candidate, and I think that can be done with Senator Lacson.
Okay. Yung opposition, they're trying to consolidate forces through isang bayan, and I think may sariling effort din si Vice President Leni Robredo to actually consolidate or combine forces for the opposition. Isang kandidato lang. Pero sa realidad ngayon, tsaka sa political atmosphere that we have now, would that be good? Isang kandidato for the opposition to go up against a candidate of the administration? Or the more the merrier, as we usually see in presidential elections?
Well, ideally you'd have one opposition candidate. Ideally, no, but reality is there will probably be more than one. There will be several, and important, and each one will have a strategy to possibly win in 2022. It's how I go back. It's how you develop a strategy and implement it, which is important.
Oh. Kanina sabi niya si Senator Lacson, he wants to put himself in the middle. Hindi administration, hindi rin doon sa extreme na opposition. Pero bakit siya nakipag-usap pa kay Vice President Lenny?
Well, they talk, diba? They talk, and they believe Vice President Robredo reached out to Senator Lacson to discuss the possibility of having a united opposition candidate. More than that, I think it's the mindset of being able to talk with people from different camps, from different factions, diba? And see if there are middle grounds that they can work on. And for example, whoever wins, there are programs that needs to be implemented, that should be implemented. Again, no, kasi right now we're at the point na if you belong to one side, you're not expected to talk to yung kabila because that's kalaban, di ba? Can't we get to a point that we were before na maski magkalaban kayo, you can still talk and discuss about issues. You can fight about politics, but at the end of the day, we're all Filipinos. We can work together to make things better, not only for ourselves, but more importantly, yung sambayanan Filipino.
Okay. Finally, Attorney Goyo, curious ako rin sa naging experience niya. Remember when you first came out publicly in support of the Lacson-Sotto tandem? Diba, you posted photos of you.
It's one photo.
One photo. A photo of you. Saan ba yan? Sa Malolos?
It was in Malolos. I was with Senator and Senate President Sotto.
When you posted that photo sa Twitter tsaka sa Facebook, nakita ko yung maraming nagwakwak sa inyo.
Okay lang.
Why you're supporting these two enablers? No. How do you handle that? And do you think that was a fair criticism of you?
Well, okay. Personally, I don't think it was a fair criticism of me, but that's not important to them because what's fair to me might not be fair to them. What might be fair to them might not. What might be fair to them might not be fair to me. When I posted that, I was driving. So I was not able to reply the whole day.
Huli kayo, driving while posting.
No, I posted it, then I drove.
Okay.
Then I drove. Then after, I was able to reply, gabi na, after driving. No? So I said, importante nito is, I'm paraphrasing we have our own views, we have our own choices. You might have your choice that might be different or not similar to others, but importante is we all get to voice what we think. And the best way to do that is through registering as a voter and voting on May 9, 2022. And that's been my message for the longest time na maski you don't like the person, you like the person, importante you make your voice heard by voting. Kasi marami doon, they voice their opinion on social media. Pero after they don't vote, parang that's it. Parang mali, di ba? Mm-hmm. So, okay, when I posted a picture, that's it. I got good comments, I got bad comments. A lot of there's some bashing, but well, that's their opinion. I can't tell them how to think. I can't tell them what is good and bad. I can only show them the choices. I can all express my views, but if they accept what I say, that's good. If they don't believe me, can't do anything about it.
Isa sa mga bumanat sa inyo, I remember yung mga dilawan, tama ba?
Yes.
How did you feel about that? And I think many of them are your friends.
That's their views. I think they expected me kasi In all honesty, they expected me to be in one faction, di ba? One lineup. And that one disappointed them. Pasensya lang. Uh, and that probably caused their reaction. Uh, I think there were some rude comments, uh, but
Ano,
at the end of the day,
ano yung pinaka-rude na naalala nyo?
I can't remember na kasi that was some time back but I remember there are some vicious comments but ako naman, that's how you think. That's how what you think is your call. How I react is mine. If diba, I have no control over what you do and what you say, but I have control over how I react
Okay.
and how I do things.
Okay.
So, yung iba is, again, I would always tell them that thank you for sharing or that's your view. I respect that, but importante is that you just remind people to register and vote on May 9, 2022. That's my message.
That's true.
Register and vote.
Kasi kahit anong kuda nila on social media, those posts cannot literally elect public officials. They have to vote.
Marami doon na they're so active on social media but ask when was the last time they voted? 2004? 2016? Parang well, that's their decision. That's their diskarte nila yan trip nila yan. So let them be. So ako naman, I just go back to what I always tell people that register and vote. You can be vocal on social media. You can tell people how you feel or what your views are. But if you don't vote, your voice will be diminished.
Okay. Attorney Gregorio Larrazabal, maraming salamat po dito sa pagpapaunlak nyo. Dito
Okay,
sa
just a reminder.
interview.
Just a reminder. Hope you don't mind. You can still register as a voter. The deadline for registration is September 30, 2021. Comelec offices are open Monday to Friday, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 ng umaga hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Sabado at holidays, bukas yung Comelec offices, alas 8 ng umaga hanggang alas 5 ng hapon.
Okay.
Paregister na po kayo. Don't delay.
That's a big help in terms of disseminating that information. Maraming salamat, Attorney Goyo Larrazabal, former Comelec Commissioner. And that's it for this episode of our Facts First podcast. Again, you can catch this episode on YouTube. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe button. And also the podcast version is available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and Stitcher. Maraming salamat po. See you again next week for another episode of our Facts First podcast.